everyone, welcome to this week's 5-minute message. I know I went over my 5 minutes last week, so I'll just kind of jump right in this time. Last week we talked about how the witness of Daniel to King Nebuchadnezzar, where he interpreted the dream to King Nebuchadnezzar, and the faith of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refusing to bow down to King Nebuchadnezzar's statue, really kind of planted the seeds in Daniel and then saw it to fruition in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And that brought that king, that Babylonian king, to faith. And he recognized the true God of the Israelites, the one true God, being who he was in his power. And so he kind of made the decree that all the lands needed to bow down to that God, that was the one true God. And I wish I could say that that was like a happily ever after for the Babylonian Empire, but not so much. We know that King Nebuchadnezzar, in Daniel chapter 5, we read that he did not find a happy end. He kind of let his pride get the better of him, and his faith waned after that. So I'm going to read just a couple verses that explain what happened to him. And this is Daniel chapter 5, verses 20 and 21. It says, "But when his heart became arrogant and hardened with pride, he was deposed from his royal throne and stripped of his glory. He was driven away from people and given the mind of an animal. He lived with the wild donkeys and ate grass like the ox, and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven." So he lost his mind a little bit and ended up, just kind of out in the wilderness, getting rained on, acting like an animal. So not a fortunate end for King Nebuchadnezzar, and his son Belshazzar suffered from that same sort of arrogance and pride that his father had. And we're going to talk about a story today where Belshazzar doesn't recognize that pride within himself, and it ends up getting the better of him. He didn't see the writing on the wall with what happened to his father, and so God sends literal writing on a wall to get Belshazzar's attention and kind of tell him that, too bad, too late, you didn't get it in time. So King Belshazzar is having this banquet with about 1,000 of his nobles, and things are getting a little wild, so Belshazzar decides he's going to flex a little bit, and he has the chalices that were stolen from the temple in Jerusalem brought in for them to drink wine out of. Now that would have been bad enough in and of itself, but while they are drinking wine out of these sacred chalices, he decides that it's a good time to start praising all of these false gods. So they're drinking the wine from the chalices that came from the temple in Jerusalem, praising the gods of stone and bronze and gold and all these gods that don't exist. So God sends a hand into the room, and it starts writing something on the wall. And Belshazzar sees it, and he becomes like one of those cartoon characters that sees a ghost, right? His knees are knocking, he's like, oh, it turns white. His face turns completely white, and he's panicking, he's freaking out. So he calls all of his wise men into the room, and he says, whoever can read this and tell me what it means, you are gonna get a purple robe, you're gonna get a gold chain around your neck, and you'll be the third highest in the entire kingdom. And all of the people, all of the wise men in the room are like, sorry, king, we can't figure this one out. And so he is kind of spiraling. He's going down. He is not pleased with what's going on in that room. So his wife, the queen, can kind of see that he's losing it, right? And so she's like, calm down, Belshazzar. Don't worry about it. I know a guy who can interpret dreams. So enter Daniel, right? Here comes Daniel back to save the day, except not so much saving the day in Belshazzar's case. But when Daniel comes into the room, Belshazzar says to him, he says, all right, so if you can read this writing and tell me what it means, you will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around your neck, and you will be the third highest ruler in all the kingdom. So Daniel's like, well, I'm Daniel, yeah, like I'm the guy who can interpret dreams, but I don't want any of your accolades. I don't want your robe or your chain, or I don't want to be a ruler in your kingdom, certainly. You can keep all of that, but he says, nevertheless, I will read the writing for the king and tell him what it means. So Daniel tells him about how his father, Nebuchadnezzar's pride was his downfall. And surprise, surprise, the apple has not fallen far from the tree. So he kind of goes through and talks about the different ways that Belshazzar has also allowed pride and arrogance to become his downfall. And he says to him, you praise to the gods of silver and gold, of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which cannot see or hear or understand. But you did not honor the God who holds in his hand all your life and all your ways. Therefore he sent the hand that wrote the inscription. So the writing on the wall literally says, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Paris. The word Mene means God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel means you have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. And Paris means your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. So long story short, that night Belshazzar passes on and Darius the Mede winds up taking over his kingdom. So that literal writing on the wall spelled out the end for King Belshazzar because he missed all the signs of the different ways that life was kind of telling him to wake up to who God truly is before that, and even missed the obvious sign of what happened to his father. So we all have things in our lives that we could do better or differently, right? Or things that maybe we need to start doing or stop doing. And it's important to pay attention to the lessons from not only our past, but learn from the mistakes of other people so that history doesn't repeat itself, right? History can be a great witness, and there are so many things in our life that are trying to speak to us. I know for me, if I get really tired and I can't sleep at night, or if I start to get demotivated, that usually means that I need to exercise more. So these things that we can learn about ourselves will help us to figure out how to be the healthiest, best version of ourselves. And if you listen to the signs, if you listen to what your mind and your body are telling you, they're probably giving you clues as to what you need right now. So today, my message for you is to just be sure you're taking care of yourself. Don't miss the writing on the wall. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, get enough food, get enough good nutrients, get enough exercise, get enough fresh air. Don't spend your time and your money on things that aren't worth your time and your money. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself and don't miss the writing on the wall. There's always a witness that comes to us from our experiences and from the history of not only our own lives, but the history and the things that have happened to other people. So just pay attention to that. All right, that's it for today. Bye, guys. Ooh, I went long again.